D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick 1025, The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you on a Wednesday afternoon. We hope you are all having a wonderful Wednesday. Yet another beautiful, sunny day in our fair city. Willie Donick is live in Montreal, Canada. Predators at Canadiens tomorrow. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5, right here on 1025. The Game. Derek, you came in here, by the way, quickly. You came in here and said you wanted to thank Haley
from
1029 The Buzz for doing something
Haley.
that I didn't think you needed.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Haley because she supplied me with a hair tie, which I didn't scream out, hey, anyone has a hair tie? I didn't scream that out. Why? Because I don't have any hair. What I screamed out was, hey, does anybody have a rubber band? And Haley was like, hey, how about a hair tie? I said, absolutely, I'll take it. Went to her office. She gave me the hair tie. She said, this is what I keep hair ties for. Now, she has hair, lots of it. You know, me on the other hand, I don't. Even if I had a lot of hair, I wouldn't ask for a hair tie because I don't like man buns. That's just me. And maybe I'm jealous because I don't have any hair, but I just don't like them.
I don't know if you know this, Derek, but you don't have hair.
Yes.
I don't have hair.
Yeah.
Willie doesn't have hair.
Absolutely.
And David doesn't have hair.
We're the hellish crew.
We're the bald squad.
Yeah. Nick, get out of here. Nick got hair.
Nobody with hair is allowed to be involved in this program whatsoever.
Exactly.
Whatsoever. And I just want to say this quickly. If you have had the privilege of traveling to cover the NHL, as I did at one point in my life, and as Willie does now, it is an absolute privilege, to borrow that word again, to use that word again, to visit Montreal and to have a day off in Montreal, which Willie has, and he's spending it here with us.
Wow, Willie.
So thank you, Willie Donick. I also just want to say, because Silly Underdog Picks is coming up at 5:20, Hal Gill, of course, also in Montreal. I'd be willing to place a bet that Hal Gill does not answer the phone the first couple of times we call.
No,
because Hal Gill knows a thing or two about having fun in Montreal, as Willie can attest.
I think you will. I think he'll be on his P's and Q's.
Willie,
he's gonna be on P's,
your
his
thoughts?
P's and Q's.
It's questionable. It's questionable.
Hey, I'm Team Hal. He's going to be there. He's going to answer his phone.
Okay.
Well, we'll see in a couple of hours. Silly Underdog Picks coming up at 5:20. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow at 5 o'clock. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt head football coach, will join us for I always do this. 4-0 Clark /clock. 4-0 Clark. As Vanderbilt returns to action, the Commodores had the off week last week. They host LSU on Saturday, an 11 a.m. kickoff at First Bank Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll talk about that and catch up with Clark Lee coming up in about an hour. So, as we all know, the history of young, highly touted quarterbacks in the NFL is littered with failure. One stat you have surely seen over the past couple of days after the Titans fired Brian Callahan, 6 of the past 8 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall have had their coaches fired during their rookie seasons, including each of the past 4. It is incredibly difficult to develop and nurture a young quarterback. That's why there are only so many elite quarterbacks in the NFL at any given time. And I know that there are a ton of Titans fans who are freaked out that Cam Ward is going to be yet another highly touted quarterback who fails. And a big portion of that, a large portion of that, has to do with the environment that the quarterback is reared in. And we're going to talk about a couple of these stories today. It's one of my favorite types of sports stories. It's called the Now They Tell Us story. That is a term coined by Brian Curtis, who works for The Ringer. When a team fires a coach, when a team with high expectations misses the playoffs, within a couple of days, there's this huge story about everything that went wrong leading up to the firing or the disappointing season. And all of the people who wouldn't speak on the record or on background will finally speak about what's been going wrong. And we're going to talk about a couple of those stories today because there have been some serious now they tell us stories about the Tennessee Titans over the past couple of days. But the first one that dropped came courtesy of Michael Silver of The Athletic with this headline. And I love this headline, guys. Cam Ward got dropped into the Titans' den of dysfunction. Can he make it out? Now that is a headline. Cam Ward got dropped into the Titans' den of dysfunction. Can he make it out? And Willie, you brought this article to our attention, and there was a quote in here. By the way, Michael Silver came to Nashville to do this story last week. So it was before the Titans lost to the Raiders and before the Titans fired Brian Callahan. But there is a quote in this story from a Raiders coach. Quote, that, meaning the Titans, might be the worst team I've seen in the last 25 years. They don't have any difference makers other than Jeffrey Simmons, and the whole thing was a total mess. Just a total mess. So let's attempt to answer the question that Michael Silver's headline poses. Cam Ward, Willie, got dropped into the Titans' den of dysfunction. How concerned are we that he can make it out?
I think this article illustrates what the perception is from afar and how it's already been moving in this direction, and it now has hit a whole new level. I'm always curious. Not that it's the end all be all, but I do think when you are getting a reputation, the longer you get labeled, and I'd be curious to know D. Mace's perspective on this, because D. Mace has been a free agent. He's been a guy that looks for a new team from time to time. You know, he played the vast majority of his career for two different teams, but he did change teams a couple other times. I wonder how much the reputation of the franchise that you're looking at comes into play, because right now the Titans, I think, have slipped to a new low with that. And if they're going to do another search, I wonder how it's going to affect the level of candidacy that they're going to get from that, because this article, I think, uncovers a lot of things internally about what has been going on. And really, I'm talking about from the top. And Mike Barganzi has just worked himself into this family. But I think there's just a lot of questions from the top down of how they run things.
Yeah, I mean, to say that what has been going on lately with the Titans will not affect them in, their replacement for head coach, or say, high priced or, free agents wanting to come here looking to win. You haven't helped yourself in that department when it comes to that. This team isn't good, and outside, listen, I think there are coaches that will take this job if McCoy doesn't prove that he's worthy of it. And I hope he does. I really hope he does, because that's a plus for Cam. Cam wouldn't have to then change offensive, the offense wouldn't change with another coach. It would stay the same under McCoy. So, and he would have at least 11 games, barring injuries, 11 games to sort of them to get used to one another. So I hope it does work out for McCoy, because if it does, that's better for your quarterback. But if it doesn't, I think those hot coaches that will be getting jobs this summer, this spring, they may not be looking at the Titans as a job that I really want to take, just because of the dysfunction that has been going on, or seems to have gone on, or be going on with upper management. I understand there are only 32 of these jobs, and if you got an opportunity to take one, you more than likely you take one. But every job ain't a good job. Ben Johnson showed y'all that last year when he took his name out of the hat. Now, it could have been other reasons, but he took his name out of the hat. And he seems to have found the right job now there in Chicago because Caleb Williams looked much better than he has his first 2 seasons under the last coaching staff. So whereas every job is desirable because it's a head coaching job, but every job ain't the right job. So if they don't get this thing seem to be going in the right direction, because the roster doesn't look good if I'm a new coach coming in and I want to, get in here and stake my claim as a head coach. Well, I got to have some security in staking my claim as a head coach, because you're not going to do to me what you've done to the last coaches and GMs, because this team is not good. And it's going to take a while for that to reverse what is going on right now.
Let's just be honest with ourselves. I hear what you're saying, Derek. You hope that it works out for Mike McCoy because we know that young quarterbacks need consistency. They need continuity on the coaching staff. But let's be real. What are the actual chances that Mike McCoy is going to be a member of this organization past the season? I know that Mike Mularkey took over for Ken Wisenhunt, and Mike Mularkey was promoted from interim head coach to actual head coach. I don't know what the success rate of interim coaches becoming head coaches is. Antonio Pierce, that was recently, right? Antonio Pierce took over for the Raiders and ended up getting the full-time job, but then he was right out the door. So I hear what you're saying. I'm not even thinking about that. I think unless the Titans engineer a significant turnaround, Mike McCoy is gone. Mike McCoy is a placeholder.
I think best case scenario for this team, and damn what everybody else says, and I'm sure there will be some good candidates out there. The best thing for this team is for Mike McCoy to show that he can coach and develop this quarterback. He has 11 games to do it. He's had time with them already. I don't know how much time. They haven't said how involved he was with, Cam's development and the offense and everything else. They hadn't said anything about that. I know he's spoken to players. I know he's been, he's made, relationships and built relationships with some of these players. But he has an 11-game trial to show that this quarterback is not doing the same things that he was doing under Brian Callahan. If you show that, Mike McCoy, you are at the top of the list, and I want you to be at the top of the list. I don't care who else is out there. If it ain't Tomlin, if it ain't John Harbaugh, I don't give a damn about nobody else, because those 2 guys have proven to me they can win championships and they can be culture changers. I want somebody to change this locker room, and if Mike McCoy comes in here and it seems like he's doing it and developing this quarterback, damn it, that's all I care about. Get the winning team. So I hope he does do a good job. Again, it doesn't have to be a playoff run. It doesn't have to, win 8 or 9 of the last 11. No, it would be great if that happened, and I know the fans would like it. Well, some fans may not, because they would be thinking, well, we want a whole new coach, period. But that would be the best thing. And I mean the best thing for this organization. And if Mike McCoy comes in here and shows that he has what it takes to be a head coach of this team, don't give a damn about anything else. If he can prove that, we're good. And you're still gonna have a high pick. You're still gonna have a high pick.
You have an opportunity that all the other candidates don't, and that's that you have the reins until you don't. But can we take a moment and just absorb the fact that it's a Raiders coach, that might be the worst team I've seen in the last 25 years. The
His
Raiders
team was bad.
Pretty bad team.
Exactly.
Over the last 25 years. I mean, a lot of them. They reek of dysfunction. And speaking of the Raiders, they fired their coach a couple years ago, put in an interim coach, and hired the interim coach, only to fire him after 1 year. So they should know what dysfunction looks like. And now they've turned over a new leaf. They've got Pete Carroll. I don't know if he's a long-term guy at this stage of his career, but they're not used to beating teams easily, and they just beat the Titans easy. So I can see why that coach on that staff, I don't know how long he's been there, but probably thinks the Titans aren't very good. But I agree with you, Derek. I still cling to the continuity. What's best for Cam Ward? That needs to be the number one question here as he tries to slog through the fire. And so if you can show progress, Mike McCoy now just gets flipped for Brian Callahan. He gets a shot at it because a tie should go to not blowing the whole thing up. But we've got a long way to go before we get to that.
I will say, and I don't know how much this actually matters.
Mhm.
It probably doesn't matter at all. But Mike McCoy looks and sounds like a football coach. He's been in the league coaching for what, more than 20 years in different capacities. Of course, he was a head coach for the Chargers about a decade ago for what, 4 seasons. So he has head coaching experience. He's been around. He's been a quarterbacks coach, an offensive coordinator, all of those things. He just looks and sounds like a football coach. When I heard him at his news conference yesterday, Brian Callahan represents the new school of football coaches, the offensive whizzes, I can't think of the best way to describe it. But Mike McCoy, he's got that old school feel to him, which I know, Derek, is something that you pointed out as well as a positive for Mike McCoy.
Yeah, he's just, I think because he's been a head coach, and he's had some good one. He had a good season or two, and he had a not so good season or two with the San Diego Chargers, then the San Diego Chargers. So he's been through the ups and he's been through the downs. Then he went off and took a hiatus and he became, coordinators and all this other stuff. I think he has learned from his experience how to best do it the second go around. And sometimes that's the way it happens. Like the second go around, then you figure out how to do it and what's the best way to go about it. He's learned, he's watched, he's observed, and now he's in a position to take over for Brian. And y'all got to understand, I remember us talking about this when he was hired, McCoy. And I said, well, they brought in another guy to have another offensive mind. And if this doesn't work, he was a head coach before, so they can just seamlessly go from Callahan to McCoy. A part of me believe McCoy was brought in because they knew more than likely Brian Callahan wasn't going to get the job done. So they need.
Then why keep Brian Callahan?
No. It's not about the why, because they were going to keep him and give him my opportunity. They were going to practice patience, like they said.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But it's just it's real. It's a coincidence. Like I look at stuff like that and I say that didn't just happen by happenstance. McCoy comes in when they already had about 20. Didn't we talk about even before the firing? There's too many cooks in the kitchen. They already had a bunch of cooks in the kitchen. So you want to add another cook in the kitchen? One with more stars than the actual cook? So you're bringing in a guy that just started a restaurant. You're going to bring in a Michelin star guy to kind of be in the background for the guy that don't even have a Michelin star, just starting up his restaurant. So that's what you did. And you're not supposed to think that me, the conspiracy theorist over here, you don't think that I'm not going to think, why y'all bringing him in? What? I mean, you don't need another voice on offense, do you? Oh, he's had head coaching experience. And he's had some success. Oh, okay. So when y'all fire Callahan during the season, I thought it was going to be in the middle of the season. When y'all fire him during the season, he can just seamlessly go in and take over, and that's that. You got a coach that can lead your team that has been a head coach. Man, that is just a coincidence. I don't think it was a coincidence. I really don't.
Well, I don't see a tinfoil hat on your head, but that could change in the next couple of minutes. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Can Cam Ward survive the Titans' den of dysfunction? As I say that, I feel like there should be like a green screen with flames behind me or something like that. We don't have that technology, but maybe we can find it in the next couple of minutes. Can Cam Ward survive the Titans' den of dysfunction, as the headline in The Athletic says, on a great story by Michael Silver? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Willie, I'm giving you fair warning. This is a trigger warning for Willie Donick. We're going to play something coming back from break that might upset Willie Donick, and I'm going to give him a couple of minutes to prepare.
Please don't yell at me.
I'm not. Well, don't yell at David.
That's mostly at Willie.
Yeah, don't yell at David. You can yell at me. It's all me. 615-737-1025. This Friday from noon to 3, Chase and Big Joe will be broadcasting live from Boston Commons in East Nashville, and we'll have some Predators tickets to give away. It's going to be an action-packed sports weekend in Nashville, topped by Mike Vrabel and the Patriots coming to town. So start your weekend off right and hang with Chase and Big Joe this Friday at Boston Commons in East Nashville.
But those conversations, those offers, we did our due diligence, and ultimately we just felt like Cam is a player that we weren't going to let go anywhere else except here to Tennessee. So we arrived at that consensus. It took a lot of work to get there, and I don't think at any point since we made that decision, there's really wasn't any conversations past that. You know, I said it before that I think when you have an opportunity to add a caliber of quarterback like Cam, those things are priceless. There's no price you put on that from draft capital standpoint because those players end up being what you think they're capable of. Those picks don't matter when it comes to, you know, future picks and draft capital because he's got the ability to be a really fantastic quarterback.
Are you feeling triggered, Willie?
I can't even believe that. I still am amazed. You guys know how I reacted to that the day after the draft, or I guess it was the same day that they had that press conference, or maybe they had it the night.
That was
before
the
our next
night
show.
of the draft after the Titans picked Cam Ward. So your triggering was the next day on the air. But
Yes. So I'm still triggered. And look, I'm not. I said this that day. What was the date of the draft? April 28th or 29th, something like that.
thereabouts.
Whatever that next day was, I believe I said this then, and I'm going to say it again now. I didn't want to be right on this, but it is such an illustration of the dysfunction of the top, the decision-making process about the draft. You had your head coach who was on the heels just a couple of months before that of a long discussion of, are we keeping him or are we not keeping him? Yeah, well, we'll keep him, but he's got to improve. He's a young head coach. We want to see growth. And it was kind of like, or else, right? There was a Burke Nihill quote. And Burke Nihill is not a football guy, but he's certainly in this process about how these decisions get made, the discussions with the owner. And of course, the owner is the one that makes that final decision. They always come back to that, even though she never talks about her perspective or anything like that. And nobody really talks about the process. I don't know if they want to talk about the process because it is messed up. Because through this process, you had this, well, the coach will keep him, but he better get better. He's young. He's got to show improvement. Yet after that, that coach goes through the process and has a big say in evaluating and selecting Cam Ward to the point where he's saying, I don't even care what the trade compensation was. We got our guy. Now, how crazy does that look right now after you turned on that coach 6 weeks into the season? And now knowing, now you tell me this, guys. If you called the Giants right now and said, hey, guys, we were just reconsidering things. You know that trade you guys offered us right before the draft? Can we get that package right now? We'll trade you Cam Ward. You trade us Abdul Carter and the other picks that you were going to next year's first rounder, next year's second rounder. We'll take whoever you picked. You think the Giants would even answer the phone? They'd hang up on you. But that's what they turned down. And who was at the center of that decision? Brian Callahan, who you didn't even think was that good of a coach. You fired him after 6 weeks. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, whether, Brian had a lot of say or little say, he still was in the process of looking for their, franchise quarterback. And this team thought highly of Cam Ward that they said, you know what? Giants, thank you, but no, thank you. We're going to take our quarterback and we're going to build around him. So whether that was the right thing or not, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll find out in 2 or 3 years and kind of go from there. But you're right from the standpoint of, okay, when you drafted Cam Ward, in your mind, what was it going to look like for you to fire him? And what it looks like, do you think it more than likely was going to happen or not, based on your roster? I would tend to think they thought it was going to happen. meaning they weren't going to be a good team. So I go back to when you said development, when you said this team need to show development, you didn't tell us what that looked like. You didn't. You kept it vague, very vague. You didn't tell us what developing looks like outside of the quarterback. You didn't give a win total. You didn't get anything. Why? Because you wanted to make your own determination, and you have every right to. You wanted to make your own determination on what developing looked like, or is this team better? Because again, they got better in certain areas, but they're just a bad team. We know that. So you drafted a quarterback knowing good well, more than likely, there was a 90-something% chance. I'm not going to say it was 99% or 100, but there was a 90% chance somewhere in there or close to it that he was not going to be your coach once the season ends or in the midst of the season, but you still chose to draft this quarterback. I think this was all the front office. This had nothing to do with Brian Callahan. They made him think he had a lot to say, and he probably did as far as what he thought about Cam, the player. He evaluated him. But I think, and I believe, that they made the decision to draft Cam Ward. And they knew that, hey, listen, more than likely, this guy's going to be gone. We're going to be looking for our next coach to develop our quarterback. So I'm not going to put this on Brian Callahan. I'm not going to say, or the organization, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, why did they draft Cam knowing they would? Well, they knew it because they wanted to. Because they wanted to give him a little chance. Had they had given away the picks, not got a quarterback, who you think would be the quarterback for this team? And matter of fact, do you think that quarterback could have helped this team? So his ass would have been fired regardless.
Maybe so, but here is the other part of this. Remember the press release when they fired Mike Vrabel?
Mm-hmm.
We have an exciting young quarterback. They were talking about Will Levis, and they hired Brian Callahan, thinking. Remember, they sort of put it out there before they even interviewed candidates. We've got this great young quarterback. Who's going to be the coach that's going to be the best? And as they put it, or Amy Adams, it was her statement, right? We've got this exciting young roster, which is proven to be completely way off base, and including this great young quarterback who we know where he is right now. But like they were selling this bill of goods of Callahan's going to be the guy that brings out Levis, and that didn't go well. And yet he still had a big say in picking up the next guy, in Cam Ward, when they ignored all the process that would have been. I can't act like I know that I'm not a GM. I'm not a guy who builds franchises, but it just seems to me all of this evidence. We had jokes about the Pulitzer Prize winning guy that wrote the article about how you study building the draft. They had the assets. It's what John Robinson did. It's what, when they were last at this low point, it's what John Robinson did. Flipped the number one pick to get the assets. But they kept chasing this, and they did it and they clearly misevaluated what they were looking for in that process. Who makes the decisions? And I think that is what is at the center of all this. And they get it right? There's so many things coming out in these articles with the internal way that the top works that raise a lot of questions. And it's questions we've had for a long time.
We know that when terrible teams draft quarterbacks, it turns those teams into pressure cookers because the mere presence of that quarterback supercharges expectations. Even if we all know that a turnaround isn't likely right away. And I remember this quote from Peyton Manning, one of these stories that we referenced and discussed leading into the season about why young quarterbacks bust so often. And Peyton Manning to The Athletic said, quote, "It's like a young couple thinking about bringing a baby into the world. If you're not sure you're ready, just don't do it." But these teams can't help themselves because these teams believe that the quickest path to fixing what ails them is drafting a quarterback.
It is.
And well, the problem is, as we have mentioned multiple times, 6 of the past 8
Mhm.
teams, 6 of the past 8 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall have had their head coaches fired in their rookie seasons. So clearly, these teams do not have patience. And I can't study all of the rosters of these teams immediately, but I have to imagine most of them were not in a position to allow a young quarterback to thrive.
And I understand that part, but I think what we have to wrap our heads around is that organizations are not going to wait to draft a quarterback. That's why we got done. So, as much as Peyton Manning says this, and he's probably and he's right in theory, but no matter how much he says it, organizations, I don't care what's going on with their coach, they're not going to pass up a guy who they believe is an elite quarterback that can lead their franchise to a Super Bowl. You will be a damn idiot to do that. The head coach is disposable. That guy I draft number 1 isn't. If I believe he's the guy, I'm drafting him, and you're disposable. You're out of here next year. Because the track record says, at least it's starting to say with those guys, Caleb Williams looked better. Bryce Young looked better with a new coach. So that's all these GMs are looking at it. As long as we get that guy right there in place, as long as we get a house, we can work around the yard and everything else, but we got to get the house first. We got to get the foundation and everything first. We can work the yard later. That's how some of these GMs, some of these owners feel, because they know these guys, it's an arms race. These guys do not, whether they misevaluate them, I don't know. But when they believe they have one, they don't care who's coaching them at the minute. They want to make sure they get him first. Let's get him first. And then we could, this guy right here, I could pay him $4 or $5 million for the next 2 or 3 years. He's going to get another job. But I need to get that guy first.
But isn't that short-sighted thinking?
It's not short-sighted thinking. It's not. If this coach, Brian Callahan, prime example, his first year, you knew this roster was bad. Will Levis, it didn't work out. Maybe Will Levis goes somewhere else and be a good quarterback on another team. That can't happen. But in his first season, you saw this didn't work out. Okay, you saw that. Okay, it's not going well. You're going to give him another opportunity and evaluate. I don't care how anybody else, and I will say this forever, I don't care what the other 31 teams did or how they evaluated him. The Titans evaluated him as a number 1 pick. So with that being the case, Brian, I know we're going to give him an opportunity to do this again. But we ain't passing the quarterback, because we know if he doesn't get it right, what game is it? 5? We're going to fire him. And we're going to bring in somebody else prematurely, like beforehand, that can seamlessly float into this job. So organizations don't wait to take elite quarterbacks. Whoever told you that, they don't know what they're talking about. Why would I wait just because I got a bad coach? Why would I wait to take a Peyton Manning? Why would I wait to take a John Elway?
Well, I think it's different, quickly. I think it's different when that quarterback is I know this is a banned word on this program, but I'm going to do it anyway. When that quarterback is a generational talent, when it's Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck versus Cam Ward.
It doesn't matter if you, the organization, that's what, just understand that part. If you, the Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis coach, whoever, you got the number 1 pick, and you think that guy, no matter what anybody else evaluates him as, you think that guy is your quarterback at number 1, take him.
615-737-1025. We will get to your reaction. You can join us at 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. D. Mace, Vengen, and Donick is presented to you by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate now at BAXHomeworks.com.
Hey, let's tell you about Loan Pronto. What if you could pull up to $500,000 in cash out of your home and drop your home mortgage rate to 4.99% APR? Right now at Loan Pronto, they're doing exactly that. They've got the lowest rates in 3 years. So with Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan, you can get your cash in as little as 3 days. If that's what you need, pay off all those high interest credit cards if they've got you underwater, and even skip your next 2 house payments. So one client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off their debt, paid off 2 car loans, and saved $2,100 per month. One call, life change. So don't wait any longer. These rates aren't going to stay here forever. So call Loan Pronto and find out more. 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com. Get the free instant home appraisal. See how much cash you can get today. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit. Visit nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Last one.
Mike, what's the biggest areas of improvement in your eyes for Cam now that you've seen him through a 6-game sample size?
Well, it's like we talked about the other day. It's going to be every week he's going to learn something new, and it's going to be a rookie quarterback. It's tough. There's no doubt about it. It's the hardest position to play, and I've told him a number of times in the last couple of days that I've seen him, it's just keep plugging along. It's just one day at a time, keep getting better. Cam has a burning desire to be great, a burning desire to be great. And the key thing I always tell him, just trust the system and go out there and be you, have fun, be Cam.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Cam's up next.
That was Mike McCoy yesterday in his first news conference discussing Cam Ward. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. And I am interested in seeing how McCoy attempts to answer a question he asked rhetorically, I guess you could say, yesterday. How do we get Cam to be more efficient and have more success? And what interests me about McCoy's background is that he has experience with many different styles of quarterbacks in his long coaching career. Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Tim Tebow. Remember when Tim Tebow was the hottest thing going in the NFL?
Mhm.
Mike McCoy was the Broncos offensive coordinator during Tim Tebow's, was it Tebow Mania? Is that what it was called? I was about to call it Linsanity. That's something completely different. But during Tebow Mania, Mike McCoy was the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. So he has a ton of experience with many different styles of quarterbacks. So I am curious, Willie, to see, because look, Cam Ward realistically is in a bit of a holding pattern for the next few months because, as I said, it's unlikely that Mike McCoy sticks around past this season, filling in for Brian Callahan. So at the same time, the Titans still have to play 11 games. So I want to see what Mike McCoy, and Bo Hardegree is going to continue to call the plays, but I am wondering what Mike McCoy does to answer that question he said yesterday. How do we get Cam to be more efficient and have more success?
You know, I give this some thought too as well, because one of the things, you sent an article from CBS Sports from, I think it's Jonathan Jones that wrote it. It's very
Yes.
well done. Another one that kind of opens up the lid under the hood and gets a lot of people to comment, a lot of it unnamed sources. But, sometimes, Adam, you could comment on this from a journalistic side. Sometimes you get more honest stuff when it's off the record. And there was a lot of, hey, we thought we were getting a head coach, but they really, maybe the mistake in hindsight was getting all caught up in we need the offensive-minded offensive coordinator head coach, when really the first job of a head coach is to be that, a head coach, a guy that gets everybody on the same page, gets everybody moving in the same direction. That is huge. And I'm curious about something that Trevor Maddich said yesterday. Mike McCoy was a very young head coach when he took over the Chargers. He was, I think, 40, 41 years old. Now he's got a little more wisdom. He's 53. Maybe he's got a better handle on how to be a head coach. And he did have a couple of decent years, right? He had a couple of winning seasons with the Chargers. So that's not nothing. So I think, D-Mace, you tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think the first order of business is to get everybody on the same page. Get something that everybody believes in. That we're not having these discussions about, well, practice was really bad on Thursday, or, something went wrong functionally during the game on Sunday. Like, they need to get everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. And that's where Mike McCoy starts. I would start with that before I got into, well, what's the offense we're running and all that stuff.
Well, there should be a big improvement because, like you said, you're dealing with someone that has been in this position before. Again, you can watch somebody be in a position, you can learn under them, but until you have that actual job, you don't know really what it's like. And then you hire him not only to do that, but to be your play caller. That was mistake number one. If you just wanted to hire him as a play caller, cool. Because, I mean, listen, it would have been his first actual job, first actual time at calling plays during a game. Like, they were his plays that he was calling. But he didn't even do that. And he wasn't a head coach, but you decided to hire him because that's the end thing to do. Hire a young offensive-minded guy that everybody speaks highly of, that has tentacles that attach to, very important people in this sport, and you hire him based upon that, and how intelligent he sounds in the meeting, instead of going with someone that has a proven track record of being in that position before, that has had some success in that position. And I'm not saying that every time, it works because he's had some, experience at it, but at least when the stuff started to hit the fan, you know how to react and you know what to expect because you've been in this position before. And more than likely, you're going through the same thing that Brian Callahan went through because you got fired. So you understand it. That's why bringing McCoy in, I think it's a good thing. And you're right, Willie. Beside all the X's and O's, he need to change it as fast as he can, but in a way that it doesn't just disrupt everything. He has to change whatever that was going on inside that locker room on that team, because whatever was happening, it didn't foster winning football. I'm not saying that the guys lost faith in Callahan or the guys just wasn't, they were doing their own things. But whatever was going on in that locker room, it didn't foster a winning environment. It just didn't. They didn't win. So hopefully McCoy, first of all, before the even I'm not even worried about the X's and O's. I'm really not. First, he has to get this team whole again as quickly as he possibly can. I think the play stuff will work itself out because, listen, they can't improve from a play standpoint no more than any other team in their situation, meaning the depletion of the roster, meaning they don't have enough top end guys. So it's only going to look so much different. It's not going to go from 0 to 85. It may go from 0 to about 25, 30, but that's an improvement. I think that's what you get out of the play. But when you're talking about, I want to see him slowly, but as quickly as possible, change the environment around there.
Let's go to Dave on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Dave, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks. My question is for Mace, really. I have a quarterback question. My view comes from the couch, so it's very limited. But a rookie quarterback, I always hear, well, they're going to see things they've never seen before. Well, from my view, I think that sounds crazy. I think, is it not more that they're going to see things that much better athletes and much more speed to see if they can make decisions with a new environment, not just new defenses? And that's my question.
Thank you for the call, Dave.
Thank you for the call, Dave. I think you have a point because nowadays, because there are coaches that are coming from the NFL to the college ranks, and what they're doing is look at what doing it with the Ohio State Buckeyes. What's his name?
Matt Patricia.
Yeah, Matt Patricia. What he's doing is he's bringing his defensive schemes from the NFL and he's bringing it to college football. So now you're going to start seeing more of what you see in the NFL. The problem is, like the caller said, it's the speed of it. It's the speed for which it comes. There's one thing to chase somebody down or try to guard somebody that's running a 4.8, and you maybe see a 4.3 every once in a while. But when you see that 4.3 all the time, and it's spread across a bunch of players, and that defense, they're good at disguising it so much so that you really don't see it until the last minute. Again, it's not that they've never seen it, because they probably have seen a lot, these quarterbacks. There may be a few things they haven't seen technically, but it's the speed that is coming to them. It's not that they've never seen it. They just don't know how to process it because it's coming so fast. That's why, and McCoy said this, right now things are so fast for Cam right now. We're trying to slow it up. He didn't say, man, things are so confusing to him that he doesn't know this defense. No, he just said things are coming too fast for him right now, and he needs to slow it down. That's what it's about, just slowing the process down. That's how Mike McCoy can continue to help Cam Ward, to slow the process down for him. Because I'm going to tell you, and I promise you, majority of this stuff you've seen, Cam, majority of stuff that you're seeing, you've seen it before, but it just didn't come at you this fast.
Calvin Ridley did not practice today with the hamstring. I don't know if we're going to see him on Sunday, so that's not going to make Mike McCoy's job any easier. But 2 quick points from the press conference that I thought were noteworthy along these lines with McCoy, like what's going to be different. Mike Borgonzi didn't say much during the press conference, but when he did talk, he did say, I think things can be different with McCoy, with running practices, with leadership. So he thinks, and I thought it was interesting, he was saying it because he was really trying not to say very much in a lot of the questions. And the other part, when Brinker was saying, he kept saying, "We're not seeing growth. We're not seeing growth." He said that about 12 times. And somebody finally said, "Well, can you give me a little more detail?" He said, "Hey, special teams has been a lot better," which is true. Defense, he said it's been okay. And he said, but then he basically said offense. They feel like offense can be better. So that 25 to 30% D Mace is an interesting thing, because I agree the personnel is going to make it very tough. But can they see anything that looks better? I think that sort of sets the stage, because Brinker and Borgonzi seem to think McCoy can make a difference.
615-737-1025. We will continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. They take on Mike Vrabel and the Patriots at Nissan Stadium on Sunday. We will get to Mike Vrabel at some point this week. Other things have been going on. But coming up next, Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lee will join us. The Commodores are also back in action this weekend, hosting LSU. We will catch up with Clark. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D-Mace, Finnegan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Vanderbilt returns to action Saturday morning against LSU, an 11 a.m. kickoff. And I found this to be astounding, gentlemen. According to CBS Sports, this is the first time the Commodores have been favored against LSU since 1948. So it's been a minute. And with that said, let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lee. Clark, good to catch up with you after your off week. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm curious which one of you guys is going to be up at 11 a.m. for the game on Saturday. I hope you guys aren't sleeping in.
Clark,
I'm up.
Clark, I have a 4-year-old. I am up way before 11 a.m. So I will be very much awake for the game against LSU. But before we get into that matchup, I know that you are close with Brian Callahan. You know that this business is unforgiving. How did you feel when you heard the news on Monday? And have you reached out to Brian over the past couple of days?
Oh, of course I have. I mean, Callie and I maintain contact throughout the year. And, look, I mean, personally, obviously I've hurt for him. I'm frustrated for him. I believe in him, and I know him to be a great coach and a great person. And, it's a brutal business that way. And so when we sign up for it too, guys, so it's not like, I think he'd be the first one to tell you that we're not victimized when those things happen. And he's going to set his jaw, and he's going to be back at it and continue on his career. And this will be a learning experience. But obviously I heard for him and his family, and looking forward to seeing him soon. And we've been in touch, and, he would do the same for me. So tough deal. And hey, winning is so hard at these levels. It takes a total alignment. It takes everyone on the same page. And sometimes coaches get too much credit, and sometimes coaches bear the brunt of the blame. And that is part of it. But it was a tough week that way.
Looking back quickly at the loss at Alabama, the red zone turnovers your team had against the Crimson Tide were a major turning point in that game. I know that your program had the fewest turnovers in the country last season, just 7 turnovers. By my math, you're up to 6 so far this season. What have you emphasized with your team this week leading into the LSU game to make sure that you are taking better care of the ball?
Well, I've told them that we only have one left to create. We can't go beyond what we did a year ago, and so that's it. No, I'm just kidding. I want there to be an attitude of aggression. I want there to be a playing free and playing loose. That's when we're at our best. I want to be able to let Diego Pavia play to his personality, and yet we know that part of our formula is maintaining possession of the ball. And when we've done that, obviously we've been really efficient in how we've finished drives. And we've finished drives scoring points, and a lot of times scoring touchdowns this year. So, 2 critical mistakes in the Alabama game. It's hard to win against good teams on the road when you make those self-inflicted wounds. So we've emphasized how important it is to take care of the ball. And I think there's the point at which where you don't linger too long on the past game. It's hard with a bye week because it's the last kind of taste in your mouth. But hey, how do we learn from it, turn the page, move forward, and then just focus on being better for LSU. But certainly that's something that we've talked about, we've addressed. We want to make good decisions with the ball and protect the ball when we're running it. I expect us to be better, and yet we won't be perfect. And we have to be able to account for that in the way we play in all 3 phases to make sure that we're strong as a team.
We'll talk with Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head football coach. Now, Coach, if you're watching that game, and I know you probably look at it totally different. You're watching that game, and as a spectator or a former player, I'm watching it and I'm saying, man, outside of those two mishaps, I'm not sure if we saw the better team win the game. And with that said, how is it? Is it a good thing to have a loss like that and then go into a bad week, or is it? Do you want to play the very next week? Because you did talk about, having that loss, having that taste in your mouth, and then having to go the whole week and 2 weeks to even get a chance to get it out of your mouth.
But typically, I think it's good to get back on the field.
Mm-hmm.
For us, that was 6 straight weeks coming out of training camp where we had played. So we were due a bye week, and I think the team appreciated the mental reset. So it came at the right time for us. We moved past that game. This is a resilient group. It's a mature group. It's not a group that we got to sit there and beat over the head with, every single mistake that was made, or, we communicate pretty clearly and directly the things we want to improve upon. We did that. We got back on the practice field. We were able to have some fun out there and enjoy competing. We got a couple days off, which allowed our players to get home, which was really, I think, beneficial to them. And then Sunday, we got back to work on LSU. We really had a spirited practice to start our week off. So typically, it's good to get back out on the field and have another game to focus on. In this case, the bye week came at the right time for us just to get us a mental reset. And I've been pleased with how the team's come out and focused and prepped this week to this point.
Now, Coach, you don't have many teams that are able to hold opponents under 11 points or less, and you're walking into a situation or they're coming here to where the LSU defense don't allow that many points in an era where offenses are scoring 30, close to 40 points a game. What is it that LSU or have they done to make it difficult for teams to score?
Well, they force you to operate at a high level. I think the first thing is they're so disruptive in their front seven that they get you off schedule. The way they pressure. It's both what they're doing schematically and who they're doing it with that is particularly challenging. So you have to communicate to try to pick up those pressures, try to cover them up in the run game. Obviously, try to create space in the pocket in the pass game. They're multiple in how they play zone, man, bracket. They kind of do it all. And, the space that you feel like is open on a given snap, when you find it, it closes really rapidly. So it's not a group that gives up a ton of explosive plays. It's a group that forces you to play methodically and really forces you to execute and also play with patience. And that's going to be the key to the game on Saturday is, first of all, not losing patience when we absorb some TFLs or absorb some negative yardage plays. Being content, taking the space that's given to us and trying to, really march the ball down the field methodically and hopefully, force them into making mistakes. And then the last thing is, they've been really opportunistic with turnovers. Theirs look different than ours. We've forced and recovered a bunch of fumbles. They've intercepted the ball a lot, and that has to do with the pressure they create in their pass rush and their blitz game, and quarterbacks kind of panicking and throwing the ball up into coverage down the field. So, they're going to force us to play a clean game. They're really, really skilled on defense, and it'll be a challenge, but it's also something that, we look forward to. That's why you want to play in the SEC, is to face these great defenses. And, we'll have our plan and we'll need to execute our plan on Saturday.
Talking with Clark Lee, head football coach at Vanderbilt. They've got the big game against LSU coming up Saturday at 11. And Clark, unfortunately, I will be in Winnipeg. Canada is not the best place to watch a lot of college football games. You kind of get what you get. But I will find a way. I'm going to find some way to watch you guys while the morning skate's going on. I want to ask you about how Diego Pavia has handled himself since the Alabama loss. I thought it was great how he handled himself in the press conference. He was mature. He took responsibility, etc. There's so much spotlight on him. You got Johnny Manziel down there. What have you seen from him since that loss? Because I know if we know anything about him, he's determined and he's going to want to bounce back.
Well, he plays with a lot on the line. That's kind of what makes him special is when he's out there. It's personal to him. He is the ultimate competitor, and But the thing that's always been true about Diego is he understands the responsibility he has as the leader. He wants the burden of responsibility in terms of putting the game on his shoulders and making the plays he needs to make. And he's always been great about taking responsibility that way. So no surprises that he was able to see it clearly after the game and took ownership. And he's been great. I mean, right back to work and excited about prep and speaking confidence into the team and, all the things that we expect from him. The game's never too big for him. The moment's never too big for him. He takes it all in stride. And, there's a lot, I think, that is created around him with respect to swagger. And I've always said this, the things that
Clark's phone is breaking up. We will reconnect with Clark Lee here in just a moment. But Willie, let's expand on what you were asking Clark there as we look to get him back on the phone.
Well, I think I was impressed in that press conference because he was disappointed. You could tell in the way he played. He has a high standard for himself. We talked about the atmosphere there, having beaten Alabama the year before, how they were going to try to get after him. But that's why I think I was curious, and I'm not surprised at Coach Lee's answer on that as well. And so now he's had like Derek was asking, there's been extra time, to go back to the drawing board where you're trying to rest, you're trying to recover. And at the same time, you've got that burning determination to get back out there as fast as possible. And you got to wait an extra week. Plus, you're playing a really, really tough defense in LSU. What a great challenge going forward for him in particular against that LSU defense.
We welcome back Clark Lee. Clark, sorry about that. Please continue.
No, I don't know if it was something here or something in Winnipeg. I just
yeah.
There was some kind of crash across the way there with the construction, so maybe that disrupted the signal. But no, long and short, it's his process, his connections, the quiet humility, the curiosity. That's what makes him unique, and that's what allows him to take responsibility in those moments where he plays with a lot on the line, but he understands that he's not entitled to results. And I got a ton of respect for him. So that's all.
I wanted to ask you one more about the makeup of your roster. There was a chart that circulated around about the uniqueness of your roster. You have a lot of graduate transfers, and you've got a lot of older players on the roster. And I can see that working to a team's advantage, but I think over the years you could see it work to your disadvantage if you've got guys that are just sort of playing out the string, getting a degree. You don't have them very long to develop them. What's the key in your mind to identifying the right kind of guys who you're not going to have for 4 or 5 years, but they can come in with the right mindset to blend and help your team?
Well, when they bring snap experience, that's a plus. And again, fortunately, this isn't like dealing with like veteran, professionals where they're 35 or 36 and slowing down. These guys are, 22, 23, and they're actually kind of in some ways hitting their prime. But yeah, snap experience is huge. The game moves slower for the guys that have played. We have to be really good at teaching and training our systems to get them kind of hardwired into the player so that he can play to his instincts and not thinking on the field. But this is a really demanding environment we have. Football has to be important. We ask these guys to commit a lot to the process, and that pretty much kind of filters the ones that we want to be in the program. That it has to be a football first decision. Obviously, we have a great university and great graduate programs and all that stuff, but this needs to be about playing good football, about helping us win. And we're not going to allow someone to come here and circumvent the process or shortchange the process. There's a lot put on these guys with respect to time commitment, and it goes beyond the meetings and the training. And this is about how you live, how you fuel yourself, how you recover, how you sleep. All those things come into play. And so far we've found that balance where we're able to have an old team, which is great, and yet still have a team that's fighting for results on Saturdays.
Was that something philosophically you and your staff thought might work when you were evaluating everything? Because I like, for example, Tim Corbin, I know is before the days of NIL and the transfer portal, he loved that developmental process of taking the high school athlete, having them for 3 or 4 years, et cetera. But it's evolved now, right? So how was that? How did that come? Why do you think you guys have so many older players?
Well, some of it is, and I know the COVID year guys are kind of weaning out of the system, but some of it was just you had a bunch of older players that had graduated from where they started that were looking for opportunities. And so there was just kind of this swell of that population of older, experienced players in the transfer portal. That's a part of it. You know, I think also the year-round commitment that these guys put in. I mean, we are basically with them. We have them 3 weeks in May. They're off, and then there are a couple of discretionary weeks otherwise. But I mean, this has really become kind of year-round immersion, and it allows us to build with these kind of these guys that are from outside the program, where it used to be it took 3 or 4 years to really get the system down. Now we've sped that up just because of the amount of time we spend together. And you know, for us, I think at Vanderbilt, we've always wanted to have an older team. You know, this has always been kind of the goal would be like, hey, you know, can we play teams that are playing, you know, freshman, sophomore players and third-year players that are going to be leaving our competitors, that can we fill the team with fourth and fifth-year players? The vision was always that would come from within. And obviously that's been true in some cases, but you know, what we do when we go to the portal is we just address the needs of the roster. And we want to do that in ways in the portal that actually addresses the top end of our depth chart, not the foundation of our depth chart. So where we'll still have developmental players come in, the system as high schoolers, we don't, our patience with development has changed a little bit, Willie. It's, you know, we say, hey, we want to see the potential for a player to get on the field within 2 years of him being here, because if it goes beyond that, there's actually a better answer to that need that exists in the portal than in high school recruiting. You just don't, it actually is a negative to wait longer than that. So a lot's changed in that time. There's still a blend here, but certainly when we go in the portal, we're looking to address top end of the depth chart, and that means snap experience is a premium, and we've been able to bring those guys in, kind of immerse them in our systems and get them ready to play. And that's been the formula that's worked for us the last couple of years.
Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lee has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick. Clark, thank you so much for your time. Good luck this weekend against LSU.
Thanks, guys. Great to be with y'all.
You as well. Clark Lee on the program, 615-737-1025. Vanderbilt favored by 2.5 over LSU, according to CBS. This is the first time the Commodores have been favored against LSU since 1948, and the first time they have been favored against a ranked opponent since at least 1978. Vanderbilt has played an astounding 176 consecutive games against ranked opponents as an underdog. We'll see if the Commodores can bounce back from the loss at Alabama at home on Saturday morning, an 11 o'clock kickoff against LSU. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we get back into the Titans. We have yet another Now They Tell Us story. And there was one section of this story that when I read it, my initial reaction was, ugh. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, 1025 The Game.
With regards to the replacement, who is going to ultimately be the one to make that decision? I know you preach collaboration, but I mean, how is that process going to play out?
The collaboration you're talking about?
Right, as far as choosing who's going to be not the interim, but the head coach, actually, not permanently, but going forward once the season's over.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Mike and I have been, a big part of all those conversations with Amy. I don't know if I'm understanding your question correctly, but
basically what I'm asking is it going to be your decision, Amy's decision? Whose decision is it going to be to hire the next head coach for
I got you. Yeah, we're all going to work on that together. But Mike and I will lead if you're asking, as far as the search is concerned, Mike and I will lead that search.
That was Chad Brinker on Monday evening when pressed by Teron Davenport. Who's going to call the shot? Who is going to have the final decision on the next Tennessee Titans head coach? Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. At the beginning of the show, we talked about a story written by Michael Silver of The Athletic, taking a look behind the curtain on all that's gone wrong with the Tennessee Titans leading up to the firing of Brian Callahan. He was not the only reporter to write such a story, which I know as the Now They Tell Us story. As Willie mentioned earlier, that's when the anonymous sources who wouldn't speak to you on background are willing to speak to you on background. These are all of the things we wished we knew while Brian Callahan was still here. But now that he's gone, people are comfortable saying things that they weren't comfortable saying before, hence the Now They Tell Us story. And Jonathan Jones had one on CBSSports.com that went live yesterday, which I thought was fantastic. So if you haven't read it, go to CBSSports.com. The headline, Brian Callahan's quick flameout continues the Titans' stunning 3-year cycle of chaos. Now what? And there are a lot of things to get into, but I want to highlight the final 2 graphs, Willie and Derek, of this story. And when I read this, I audibly said, yikes, to myself. I was just reading it on my computer this morning. And when I read it, I said out loud, yikes. Quote, the hire, meaning the next coaching hire, must energize the fans, but he will also likely need to win over the media too. Amy Adams Strunk is known to read and listen to press clippings, while herself rarely speaking publicly. Her scarce interviews have been conducted by the team's internal media in recent years, and she did not even offer a statement in the announcement of Callahan's firing. That, by the way, was Chad Brinker, but here it is. As one source familiar with Strunk put it when asked what the most important aspect of the coaching search will be, quote, Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media, end quote. So there are a lot of important things about this hire, but at least according to this unnamed source familiar with Amy Adams Strunk, the most important aspect, Derek Mason, Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media. And I said, yikes.
She shouldn't be worried about the media. Worry about your team getting better. So whether the media scolds you or not, there's always going to be something that media, me included, don't like about the team, a hire. There's always going to be something. So if that is true, what is being said, then your word yikes is an understatement. Regardless of who they choose to go get, this isn't a popularity contest. It's what it's not. We've sat here, for the last really 8 years, going back to when they hired Vrabel. It's all about, winning. Did he win the press conference? Did this guy win the press conference? I don't give a damn about winning the press conference no more. Win games. I don't care if he come in here and say, you know what, F all y'all as reporters. I'm here winning games. Okay, great. Just win them. So I don't care how he looks when it comes to media. And Amy shouldn't either. But I get it because that new stadium is being opened. And when you have a microphone like this, a lot of people are listening to you. and she may start to get a lot of feedback that she may listen to that she shouldn't be listening to. So it's understandable, because you want to be looked at in a favorable way, especially when you're asking people for a lot of money and asking them to fill that new stadium. You need to be looked upon as favorable. But it's gotten to a point where I don't care if I like the coach, the fans. If he's winning, he's winning. See, that's why Vrabel's out of here, because everybody started to dislike Vrabel. Everybody, his stick wore thin on people now. That arrogance, people don't want it no more because you're not winning. And what did she do? She made a change. Why? Because she was getting scolded by the media because they were talking bad about Vrabel and how bad this team was. Well, if that's what you believe, if that is true, what is coming out of this building, then wow is an understatement, because we are in for it. We really are. As an owner, you shouldn't care. Like, unless your team is consistently losing, then you care, like your fan base. Okay, yeah, I got to get rid of this coach. But when you're talking about hiring a coach, no, I'm not worried about getting the praise from the media. I don't care about the media. I just want to hire the right guy, because best believe if he starts winning, y'all ain't going to say nothing. And even if y'all liked him, Vrabel, when he started losing, what did y'all do? Y'all turned on him. All y'all turned on him. Y'all said y'all was tired of his stick. So, Amy, you shouldn't worry about what we say. Just hire the best coach for the job.
But I wonder what her role should be in the process. I think that is a little bit of what Tehran was asking, is could anybody define the interview process? Like, for example, I believe Burke Nihill is in this process, and what's his role? Like, he's not a football guy. He's an executive, but he, I believe, has been in some of these searches. There was an article that came out about how instrumental he was in finding Rand Carthon. So, and that, as we found out, did not really fall into line with Mike Vrabel, and that became a thing, right? Whether right or wrong, that was another chapter in this. What's the line of communication? How does the system work? I think there are some that would say that the owner shouldn't even be in the room. Maybe Amy Adams Strunk doesn't even want to be in the room. That's why she deferred to Chad Brinker to try to set up a system to where they could do this and make sound decisions. As far as the scolded in the media, Adam, I do wonder this. Do you think with Mike Vrabel coming in on Sunday that influenced her to say, you know what, I don't want to set up a situation where Callahan loses to Vrabel and I got to hear it from everybody. I'm going to get booed right out of the stadium if that happens. So let's not give him the satisfaction of beating Callahan. Do you think that entered her mind at all? I'm just wondering, what is it that puts it over the top
Without knowing,
for her?
Without knowing Amy Adams Strunk, yes, I absolutely do believe that she wanted to avoid Mike Vrabel coming in here with the Patriots, who are playing quite well. Drake May looks great. She wanted to avoid Mike Vrabel coming in here and humiliating Brian Callahan. Now, I'm sure there is part of Vrabel somewhere in that heart of his that feels like he still got one up on them anyway, because they fired Brian Callahan. The guy you fired me, the guy you hired to replace me after you fired me, got fired after 23 games. I've won more games this season than that bum won in a year and a third. So I'm sure part of him still feels that way somewhere in there. We know Mike Vrabel. He can be a little petty. I bet he's feeling that way. But to answer
he's a competitor.
Yes.
He's a competitor. And so, D. Mace, I also wonder this.
But to answer your question, yes, I do believe that had something to do with it.
I think so, too. And Derek, I think as well, from Mike Vrabel's standpoint, can't prove it. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if he looks back on it and says, you know what? I could see the problems coming on the roster they actually did me a favor in getting me out of there so I could go somewhere else where maybe I catch the train that's speeding up and going into a place to win faster. Because if he was being honest, he probably could have looked at the Titans roster and said, you know, it would have been a chore, regardless of how I felt about Rand Carthon at the time or anything like that. It would have been very difficult to fix it regardless of who the GM was or who the coach was, because the roster, you could already see the flaws in the roster coming.
It amazes me that for the last 3 years, and this is not a good thing. The more and more I think about this is not a good thing. Over the last 3 years, we have talked more or as equally it's the same amount as we've talked about them from a management standpoint, just as much as we talked about the X's and O's. And that's a damn shame. You know that? Just think about that.
I miss the days when we could break down
when
matchups.
You just break down matchups, and you just kind of go from there where, yes, the Titans are, yes, they're strong here. They're doing this. Yes,
the
man.
Titans have a huge matchup coming up this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. What are the keys to the game?
So I'm tired.
Nobody cares about that anymore.
So
when was the last time y'all had a conversation like that?
It was
right.
It's becoming annoying. I know it's possibly good radio. It's great radio when you're listening to us. But I just find this sort of odd. Like, over the last 3 years, man, we've talked more about just as much about upper management and the structure and how things looked or don't look than we have actually talked about the play on the field. And if you are a owner, that's not good. So
it's not.
I see why she says she wants
Vrabel
to be.
Is in her head a little bit, because I guarantee you, I can't prove this. I don't know Mike Vrabel at all, right? Other than watching him day in and day out for all the years he was here. But he strikes me as a guy that probably is sitting there in New England right now going, you know what? This worked out for the best. He saw the dysfunction firsthand year after year. He did his best to overcome it. He gave them national credibility. But he also could see, oh boy, we've screwed up some of these drafts. It was a good time to get off the ride in Nashville and get on the ride somewhere else. And it happened to be New England, where he got on the ride, and he's got a good quarterback, and he's moving that program in the right direction because they're a year or two ahead in the process. They didn't draft very well either, but they had a key piece, and they had a lot of money to spend, and he comes in, and he's got – I don't know how well they're going to end up. They're ahead of schedule now. I don't think they're that great, but do you think he's sitting there going, man, this actually was a good thing that I got canned in that? He's probably not going like, well, I want to stick it to that. He probably looks back and says, I had a good time with the Titans. It was what it was, but now I like where I'm at.
He gave it that Floyd Reese laugh, probably.
Yeah.
I could just see it. I could just hear it come out of his mouth. Like, I hear Floyd, and he's sitting back, and he's just laughing when that question, and then he probably answered. That's Vrabel. He probably gave a Floyd Reese laugh, chuckle, and then thought, man, I'm glad I'm out of there.
What's the old saying? Looking great is the best revenge, or something like that. I don't know. Mike Vrabel looks pretty great right now in that sleeveless zip-up thing he always wears on the sideline. 615-737-1025. We will take your reaction. Again, Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports had a great Now They Tell Us story looking at what the hell has been going on behind the scenes with the Titans. The final graph of this story, quote, as one source familiar with Amy Adams Strunk put it when asked what the most important aspect of this coaching search will be, Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media. There are some other nuggets in this story that we will react to next, as well as your reaction. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, talking Jonathan Jones's, let's call it an expose on CBSSports.com, looking at the mess that the Tennessee Titans have found themselves in and why they find themselves in that mess. Here's another interesting nugget or two from this story. Jonathan Jones reports that Dan Quinn, who was then the Cowboys defensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Commanders, interviewed with the Titans virtually, but did not make the second round of interviews. Quinn, quote, was just days removed from giving up 48 points at home to the Packers in the divisional round, and sources say Strunk couldn't shake the stink of that, plus the image of the 28-3 Super Bowl collapse when Quinn was the head coach of the Falcons. It later talks about how the Titans landed on Callahan. It mentions the allure of being able to bring his dad, Bill, into the picture. But Jonathan Jones reports, quote, the Titans were so focused on a play calling head coach and legendary offensive line coach that they failed in other areas of the staff. Callahan hired Colt Anderson as the special teams coordinator, and the Titans went on to have one of the worst seasons of all special teams groups in the league. Callahan fired Anderson after the season and hired Bones Fossil. So some other interesting tidbits in that story. Let's get your reaction, 615-737-1025. Let's go to Mike on our phone line. Mike, thank you for calling and waiting. Please go ahead.
Well, can I bring you guys to some reality?
Sure, why not?
All right, we got Amy Adams. She's an NFL owner. She gets guaranteed profit money, correct?
Yes.
What NFL team has ever failed and went bankrupt and left town? None. Since the NFL started. And throw out the XFL or the those startup leagues. They all went out of business. But the NFL is still in business, and there is not one team owner that is losing money. Jerry Jones is now gone 29 years without a Super Bowl, yet he built the Pen down there in Arlington. And guess what he's made on that dome stadium? Amy is smart. She's looking at the Tennessee Titans saying, I got a losing team. They came up from Houston. We didn't win there. They're not winning here. And we're just going down the tubes here. But she's looking at it from a business standpoint. I can sit here and still make a profit on the Titans because I'm an NFL owner. But when that new dome stadium opens, man, am I going to make 10 times more venue money from other things other than the Tennessee Titans. And what I'm saying now is that if we don't bring in some new management that really wants to win a Super Bowl, and I don't think we have it at all, it's all about business, it's all about money, and it's all about that new dome stadium that I'm going to tell you right now, she's smart. She's figuring it out that, you know what? The dome stadium is going to bring me in 10 times more revenue than the Titans.
Thank you for the call, Mike.
I mean, that's not a new revelation. I mean, she knew that when her daddy owned the team, how much money the NFL. I've said before, NFL is recession proof. So anybody that says, oh, this is going to doom the NFL, that is going to doom the NFL, just sit on the sideline because it's not. They're recession proof. It's not going to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and believe that Amy doesn't want to win a championship. That's what I'm not going to do because I don't think that's the case. Now, has she gone about it the right way? Probably not. And will it change? I don't know. But I'm not going to sit here and say she doesn't want to win the championship because, frankly, before she took over, this was a hot mess. And I'm talking about like everything was a hot mess. Players didn't like it. Everything was a hot mess before she took over. She took over, she stabilized, she made it better. Now the play on the field has to be consistent. I take offense to him saying, well, this team was in Houston and never won. This team won a lot of games in Houston. They did. And we won a lot of games here in Nashville. But right now, they're not winning a lot of games. And they're trying to figure out a way how to win more games. But she wants to win. She just hadn't went about it the right way, so to speak.
Blake in Hendersonville on our text line says, Burke Nihill being involved in any football operations is ludicrous. I need someone to explain to me how a lawyer from Staples is allowed any decision power in football operations. And Willie, here is where I stand on the coaching search for the Titans. We played the clip earlier, Teron Davenport trying to pin down Chad Brinker. Who is making the decision? He said that himself and Mike Borgonzi will lead the search. I know that this isn't going to happen, but here is what I am hoping does happen. And I've heard Paul Kaharski say something similar on our station as well. If Brinker and Borgonzi are leading the search, quite frankly, I want them to be the only two people involved in the search. And I know a lot of you do not trust Chad Brinker, but Amy Adams Strunk does. So I want to keep the hiring committee to as few people as I possibly can. Let Brinker and Borgonzi lead the search. And I don't want Burke Nihill or Amy Adams Strunk to meet this coach until Brinker and Borgonzi say, this is our guy.
I don't want Brinker to be a part of it.
You just want Borgonzi.
Let the GM do a GM job.
Willie, where do you stand on this?
I've given this some thought. Because if I'm at the top, if I'm Amy Adams Strunk or I'm even I'm Chad Brinker, I got to look around and say the last few searches haven't gone very well. And I think if you trust your GM, Mike Borgonzi should be the guy that makes the call. Now, Mike Borgonzi is a young, first-time NFL GM. So he hadn't been around the block very often, not as the head guy. You know, he's probably been through these searches in Kansas City. But I think I would delegate down the chain and say the GM should pick the coach. That's why we hired the GM. And the GM can consult whoever he wants on his own. But and maybe he even chooses to bring in some people in the interview process. Maybe it's some of the assistant GMs. They got 1 million of those sitting around there, right? How many assistant GMs do they have? But I do think the GM should hire the coach.
It's to me, it's again, like you said, Willie. Now, if he wants to make Brinker a part of it, then okay. But allow the GM to do a GM's job. Allow him to be the figurehead or the one that's going to spearhead this coaching search, and allow him to collaborate with you, Brinker, because you've done this before and it didn't work out. We see it after a season and 5 games, you fired the coach that you helped hire. I'm not going to forget that. Don't nobody let him forget that. He helped hire Brian Callahan. You're not getting off that easy. I'm not going to let you forget it. Hopefully nobody else allows you to forget it. You were in the room. You sat in the room. You heard. They asked for your opinion. You were on board. Hooray. Yes, everything. You was a part of that. Don't try to get away from it. Don't try to erase it. That was you. Your stench is still on it. So you know what? Borgonzi, he's been a part of that. He's been a part of championships recently. He's seen what winning looks like recently. Let that guy do it. He'll just consult with you. But let that guy do it. You can still be supreme ruler of everything else. But this moment, because essentially what's going to happen is he going to get fired if it don't work anyway, and you not. That's the way it seems, right? Because you've outlasted people. So let him. You hired him. You and Amy hired Borgonzi to be the GM. Let him do the job of a GM. Let him consult with y'all. Don't consult with him. Okay? Because y'all tried it. You and Rand tried it before and see what happened. Y'all fired the guy. Y'all hired a year and 8 games ago, 5 games ago. Let Borgonzi do it, please.
You are quite convincing, Derek, with that. Dustin in Hopkinsville says it's never getting fixed till your chain of command is an actual chain of command. Borgonzi got dogs and players. He will find a dog and a coach. It's his time. Brinker should have been sent out Monday, too. He should have left with Rand. He's a snake. He's worse than incompetent. He's a backstabber. Till the poison's gone, the infection will persist and spread. That's ominous. JD says, let the GM do the GM job. Stop allowing Brinker to be the front man and give us more word vomit. Brinker is a loser. Stop letting him run this organization down the hole just so that he can get up and feed his ego and talk on a microphone. Bob in Mount Juliet says, don't you guys know that Chad Brinker is the GM of the Titans? He released the statement and he led the press conference the other day. If you think Mike Borgonzi is calling any shots, much less the head coach, you know better than that.
Well, I mean, listen, if you're judging it by the press release, which Brinkert, not the GM and not the owner, he did say he is the voice for the owner. So he is sort of the owner in a sense, kind of, sort of at times, because he has to, say what the owner says.
He plays the same. He plays the same role.
Yeah, but I
that
get it.
Sean Henry plays with the Predators. Sean Henry speaks on behalf of ownership. That's
but
same
Sean
thing.
Henry ain't doing what he doing.
Correct.
Sean Henry, no. No, I think if he was like Sean Henry, I'm sure this team would be better.
I would agree with that.
Okay, but that's not the case. Again, I don't know if he's competent or not competent to do the job. All I know is that you were a part of the last hire, and everybody knew it. And you ran, all y'all made it known that you were a part of this, a big part. I don't want you to be a part of it again. You tried. You had your shot. Good job, young man. Move over. Let the other guy try. We're not firing you. Stay at your position. Be Amy's right hand, but let the guy that has recently won championships and recently put together a team, a good team, help put together a good team. Let that guy try it now. Just let him try it. You ain't got nothing to lose. Well, maybe, no, you ain't even got the job to lose because it ain't you. It's going to be him. So give him a shot. Let him try it. Let's see how it goes.
615-737-1025. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on all of this. We'll get yours too. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, Derek Mason here. You've heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff at Cool Springs MD for some time now. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not the first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some news, and it's good because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick 102.5 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Fingan, and David Janes here with you. We await Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. He will join us momentarily. A reminder that Silly Underdog Picks is coming up in roughly 15 minutes, and there will be a People's Pick. And if you want to represent the people, we'll give you the cue to call. And if you win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Bryan Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. So be listening for the cue to call as Silly Underdog Picks comes your way in roughly 15 minutes. Let's get to your reaction. Jonathan Jones of CBSSports.com had a great story going behind the scenes, on what's gone wrong with the Tennessee Titans. And we've been talking about that. The one blurb I have keyed in on was the final blurb on the story. As one source familiar with Strunk put it when asked what the most important aspect of this coaching search will be, quote, Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media. We do have Jonathan Hutton, so let's welcome in Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. Hutton, would you consider yourself a scold?
A scold?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't. Would you consider the show a scold?
Your show a scold?
No, yours.
What do you guys think? Are we the scolding type?
I think it's fair.
At times.
At times.
Yeah.
You have to
A show with Willie Donick is fair.
There you go.
I think you can scold but be fair.
Exactly.
No doubt. And be honest with you. Yes.
We're selective with our scolding. We're not always scolding. We make sure to scold when necessary.
We're not on a scolding fest.
Right.
But here we are.
Scolding.
But what do you make of that, Hutton? I'm sure you've seen this story from Jonathan Jones on CBSSports.com.
Yeah.
The idea that apparently, reportedly, the most important aspect of the coaching search will be Amy doesn't want to get scolded in the media. Your thoughts?
I mean, that's the whole reason for the timing of this move this week, right? Is it doesn't want to the headline. I don't think that she wanted the headline to be that Vrabel gets his revenge, and he gets any credit whatsoever for being a part of the reason why they fired Brian Callahan when they did. I mean, they went the exact opposite of Vrabel with Callahan in the hire. And look, I mean, doesn't want to get scolded. That means she has people reporting to her on everything that is said. And there's no doubt that a move like this, and she knows what the record indicates with all the firings and hirings and firings over the last several years. She's been scolded before over that, and now she's getting raked over the coals.
We're going to do this exercise tomorrow, Hutton, but since you won't be joining us tomorrow, I want you to do it for us now.
Sure.
I want you to build your ideal candidate for the next Titans head coach. So I'm not asking for a specific name, but I want the attributes that this coach must have to satisfy you as a Titans fan.
So I'm glad you didn't ask for a name. And I said this earlier whenever I was asked about this. I can name a lot of different people. I don't know who's really making this hire. I need to know that first before we actually have a clear indication on who we could guess. With that being said, this has to be somebody that the players in the locker room are going to get behind, buy in. It's going to have to be someone that isn't afraid of the immediate need and requirement of results, but also features stability, consistency, continuity, and someone that can put together a staff with more than his friends. Like that, the staff and the development aspect of this is very much the problem, because it wasn't just Callahan. I read the Jonathan Jones report. It's not just Callahan, who hadn't been in a position before, first time defensive coordinator. They've got a lot of different moving pieces on the roster. I mean, really, their defensive staff positionally had some experience, but by and large, guys are made up of coaches that were, learning on the job. That was Brian Callahan. I can't have that again. But also, I'm not for retread just for the sake of retread. It's going to be somebody that's going to come in and command and be the voice of this team. Adam, that right now they don't have a consistent single voice of this team because we were two layers removed from the decision maker in all of this, even in the press conference yesterday. There's a lot more. Burke Nihill should have been at that podium. Brinker couldn't even answer the question, who's making the hire? That's all you need to know about this, because Brinker was easy. It was easy for him to say that Borgonzi was running the draft, and Borgonzi looked like he was an assistant yesterday at the presser.
And to me, Hut, that just doesn't aesthetically look right.
Not only does it not look right, it can't work that way.
Exactly. It can't work that way. It doesn't look right. And with that being said, because I right before you came on, I said, listen, I don't want Brinker to be a part of this coaching hire. I really don't. You were a part of the last coaching hire, and everybody knew that. You were a big part of that. I don't want that again. You've shown that you are not quite there. Let Borgonzi, the guy that has won more championships than you and have seen recent success on the team, let that guy hire, and you sit back and let him correspond with you. Let him come to you and ask, hey, what do you think about this? But let him be the guy that is ultimately making decisions, because again, if it don't work, you not getting fired. He is.
Did it look like Borgonzi is in charge of this?
It didn't. But it didn't like Brinker was in charge either.
Exactly. I don't even know. Brinker probably doesn't know what the plan is. I mean,
that's bad if he doesn't.
That's the question. Who's making the hire? They were asked about that with the draft. Who's running the draft? And Brinker's admitting that he can go hang out in a meeting about the stadium or a parking lot somewhere for pavement company coming in, because Borgonzi's got it, right? That was not the tenor of this. Mm-hmm. It's clear that Amy wanted him fired when she did. I know PK had said it didn't seem like it was coming anytime soon. That was a couple of weeks ago, but I understand where that's coming from, because the sentiment was it's going to go on for a little while, mm-hmm. and until it's not going to go on for a little while, and then Burke Nihill takes a phone into an office, and she's probably on the phone, and they chat it out, and then the decision's been made. Mace, mm-hmm. The people making this decision were not at that desk. You could tell by the look on Borgonzi's face. He barely wanted to speak. And then any certain questions, Brinker's looking at him saying, chime in if you want, kind of thing. I mean, it's a mess, man. And everyone is finally seeing this from the outside in, from a national level, mm-hmm. because right now it's the story, because it's the first move, and it's a new topic for those that are in the national spotlight to latch on to, because they haven't talked about this team at all.
Well, I said, it's a shame that for the last 3-4 years, we've talked just as much about the front office than we have about the play on the field. And if you are a owner, a GM, you don't want that to be the case. And frankly, it's been the case for the Tennessee Titans. Now, with the interim hire of McCoy, do you think they got that right? I think they got it right. I hope McCoy does show that the second go around is better for him, which would mean it's better for the quarterback and everybody else. I just want some continuity for this quarterback. So if this can work out with McCoy, that would be great, because then we don't have to, change everything back up. The quarterback understands what is wanted of him or what is expected from him. He know what the offense is going to be. So I am cheering for McCoy to get this right, or at least make it look better than what it has.
I mean, I'm watching the presser with him when he takes over as interim the other night, and I'm thinking, this is much more stable than what we've seen in weeks. Honestly, definitely more confident. There's a different tenor and tone to what is acceptable and what he's looking for. Direct, honest, all this stuff that he mentioned. It's just so. Let's back up just a second here, because McCoy, Amy Strunk ended up falling in love with Mike Mularkey the interim year. Do we all agree that can't happen here? That can't happen here.
Well, if he does a good job, then.
But it's still the same. It's still the same people, and it's just kind of you're going through the motions, man. I do this on behalf of. He's a part of. He's the quarterback guy. One of them. I've been through this. How many quarterback guys they have? He's a quarterback guy as part of the staff that hasn't developed the rookie at all. I know it's 6 weeks, but the guy's looking. I mean, Ward's looking bad, not good. So I mean that was on Callahan. Now it's like, what are they going to do different? I'm puzzled by the whole situation this offseason, man, where I think the report from Jonathan Jones, maybe it was someone else, said that they were, and I think we discussed this, but they were considering moving on from Callahan back in January. Well, why keep him around to fire him going into week 7? It would be based on who the advice is coming from and who Amy's listening to. And she had just had enough of it, and now she's on to the guy with experience. I personally would have gone with Bones Fossil. When that guy speaks, I can get behind what he's saying, right? There's something about him that would be perfect for that role. McCoy is fine. I mean, again, he's got his opportunity. I would have had no problem if Bones Fossil were the interim, because he's done that in Los Angeles. But on top of that, I think, the thoughtful aspects on top of the way he coaches and gets production. He's a part of the group that's actually producing from week 1. I would have gone that route personally.
Jonathan Hutton is with us, so but we were kicking this around, just wondering what goes through the mind of Amy Adams Strunk, and top of mind is that quote, doesn't like to be scolded by the media.
Sure.
What do you think her thought was? Do you think it entered her mind, hey, the Patriots are coming in, I don't want to look bad. Brian Callahan goes in, gets beat by Mike Vrabel, so I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. Do you think that was in there somewhere?
Yes, absolutely I do. That's why, look, we know how that year went with Vrabel and Amy, where they barely spoke. Yeah, there's no love lost there, Willie. And yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it's no coincidence that it happened this week. Because I mean, if you're looking, it can get really bad on Sunday. And I don't disagree with the move to move on from Callahan. It's just the disarray that they're doing this with. Consider, Willie, the timing ultimately really wouldn't matter, except for the fact that Vrabel would get the headline, right? That's the key in this, because either way, she's insulated, and she's listening to Burke Nihill, who's then passing that on to Brinker. And I say that because Jarvis Brownlee is traded, and we hear from the guy who had nothing to do with the trade, and Brian Callahan. And now Callahan is fired, and we hear from two guys that had nothing to do in the decision to fire Brian Callahan at this time. Everything is a level beneath where it actually is occurring. And with that in mind, she had had enough, and she's the owner. That's exactly the way it went down with John Robinson and Mike Vrabel and anybody. She picks up the phone, makes the call, and she hears from those that she actually trusts and listens to. That's the key in all this, is who has her ear. And the person that speaks on her behalf, as much as Borgonzi wants to tell Paul that he's talking for her, and he's speaking on behalf of the organization, but Nihill is the voice of ownership.
And I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you about that, Hut, because I think we've always been fascinated with who does Amy lean on when it's getting tough, and she's working her way up to this big decision, and she is not afraid to make this wild card. Boom! You wake up. Who does she lean on? And so I have wondered the dynamic, especially now here recently, Nihill, Brinker, Amy, like the three of them. What do you think the dynamic is in there? Because the guy that gets talked about the least is Nihill.
I think Nihill's speaking to her a lot more often than Chad Brinker. Again, he has to. Bryce Wasserman certainly does. He's the chief of staff for Chad Brinker. He's the son-in-law. That's another. He will be in on these interviews. Like, who's making the hire? It will be a collaboration in a room. I interviewed with them this past spring. They have a committee. They won't have like one person, but when you walk into Burke's office, you know who's making the call. And that's no secret there. I mean, he's the CEO, president. He's the boss of Brinker. We haven't heard from
But
him
even
on
for
behalf of Amy.
football stuff, he's in on those. Brooke
Yeah,
Nihill.
I mean, he was in on the previous interviews. I mean, but so Brinker, if Brinker is the football decision maker, how can he answer that question from TD the way he answered that question? He didn't know how to answer it. I mean, that's what I took from it is, well, I mean, we'll find out who's making it because they were pretty. I don't have much doubt at all that Borgonzi was behind the draft. I don't see a guy sitting there the other day that looks like he's facilitating the path they're going down. But I mean, they will have a bunch of different candidates. What they're doing, they will get a list together and they'll have these interviews, and then the first round of interviews turns into a second interview, and that's where Amy will get involved from that point.
Okay, real quick. Yeah, it's easy to get sound bites and look at some of the bumbling things and say Brian Callahan, he played himself out of it, right? It's easy to pin him as the scapegoat, right?
Yep.
But also, it's very convenient for everybody else to say, we blew that one. All these unnamed sources in these articles going, yeah, he just wasn't ready. He had done, but they are the ones that identified him, right? So what's the reality there?
Well, I mean, he was the guy that they wouldn't let leave the room. They also picked out Rand Carthon. Now, Rand Carthon hired Brinker, but you see what I'm saying? This is the pattern. There's always the one layer of insulation now with their setup, with this hierarchy. So, and I think going back to Adam's question, Willie, like, who would I hire? I want someone that's in line, in lockstep with my general manager, who reports to my general manager, who is over all things football. Not 2 or 3 people, but we know who's doing what. Callahan didn't. I mean, there were reports that he wasn't even going to go to Shadur's workout whenever they were actually still going to attend the pro day. So I think we all agree he was dead man walking based on this setup. It was going to be a tough year. First overall pick, quarterback. We know how that goes for coaches. But if they were considering parting ways with him in January, it would have been Nihill that had his back, because Nihill's going on the record publicly that offseason when they hired him saying that they hit a home run and this is a phenomenal job when he stepped in. And we've heard those cuts. I go back to that. Like we know the tier, and Willie, we also know who's not speaking. And I think that it's more important to look into who's not saying anything, because ultimately they're the ones that are facilitating the news and the directive to the messengers. I didn't see 2 leaders at that podium. I saw 2 messengers.
Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow has been our guest on D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick. He joins us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Hutton, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
Yeah, always enjoy it. And underdog picks coming up, right?
Absolutely.
You
heard the man. Silly underdog picks are coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025. The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. It is time for Silly Underdog Picks presented by our friends at Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Without further ado, I turn things over to the commissioner, Willie Donick.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Silly Underdog Picks 2025. This is your commissioner speaking, coming at you from north of the border, not speaking French, but in the province of Quebec, the great city of Montreal. And half of our panel will be up here today, but there will be all English spoken, I believe. Maybe Hal Gill will mix in a little bit of his French that he picked up playing for the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, tomorrow night's opponent for the Nashville Predators. But we've got business to attend to. 7 weeks are in the books. The competition continues to heat up. We move into week 8, but first, let's recap week 7. Picking first and entering the competition in second place, Adam Vingan. He selected East Carolina. The Pirates a 6.5-point dog at Tulane. But the Green Wave continues to be tough, and they pulled out a 26-19 victory. Adam drops to 3-4 on the season and stays at 18 points. Adam, your thoughts?
East Carolina led Tulane entering the fourth quarter of that game, if I'm not mistaken. But I have followed up my 3-game winning streak with a 3-game losing streak. So it's time for me to get off the schneid. It starts today.
You're consistent, though.
That is true.
Chris Sanders had the second pick. He is still looking for his first win of the season, and he was taking the Stanford Cardinal. Well, I got to give the score. I got to give the score. Stanford, a 19.5-point dog at SMU in a classic matchup from which conference, Adam?
The Atlantic Coast Conference.
The Atlantic Coast Conference. Stanford and SMU do the geography. Doesn't really set up well, but Stanford fell 34-10, which means Chris Sanders 0-7. Chris, you haven't found the touch. What's going on?
Hey, as long as I give them all, that's all that matters. It's all for the kids.
That's what losers say, Chris.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's what losers say.
Hey, who won last year?
They don't know. See, there you go. That's what losers say, too. Who won last year? We don't care who won last year, Chris.
Y'all stink. That's all I got to say. Oh, y'all stink. Not stink. Y'all stank. That's what it is.
For the record, Chris Sanders did win the competition last year, despite the struggles.
Thank you. Somebody cares. Yay.
Coming off of the practice squad or the practice field over at NBA. That brings us to Derek Mason. He is the leader of the competition right now. He's been playing well. He's selected, to the chagrin of a lot of people, who wear orange quite often. That would be the Tennessee Vols, because D. Mace took Arkansas, a 12.5-point dog at UT. Tennessee had a pretty good handle on this game after Arkansas jumped out 7-0. But Arkansas did make it a little hairy at the end, but ultimately Tennessee got it done. No points for a cover. Final score, Vols 31, Vols 34, Hogs 31. D. Mace, what did you think?
Well, it's like, perception and reality. The perception was they were going to win Arkansas. That was my perception, but I knew damn well the reality was Tennessee more than likely was going to win. But this is called Silly Underdogs for a reason. So there you go.
Yeah.
Now, the fourth pick last week belonged to Hal Gill. There's been a lot of issues within the committee, the selection committee that helps Hal make the pick. All members of the Predators broadcast family. Hal went off the board. We went against the committee's recommendation. He selected BC, Boston College, from nearby his hometown. He is a Boston guy, a mass hole, if you will. They were a 14-point home dog against Clemson, and it was not even close. The Tigers rolled against BC, who has been hammered the last 2 weeks. Final score 41-10. How have you gone back to the drawing board? What's the story with the committee right now?
I have some bad news, guys. This is Max Harris on Hal's phone. There's even more strife within the committee.
Wow.
You missed your window for Hal by about 10 minutes as he has sat down for our dinner reservation in Montreal. So I have his picks and will be picking on his behalf.
So
no.
Wait.
Hal left the mic open.
now.
Hal left the mic open, and it seems like y'all had a little turmoil in the war room. I heard, "Are you making the pick? Are you making the pick?"
And did I not say at the beginning of the show, I'm not sure if Hal Gill's going to pick up the phone
Well, he
on an off night in Montreal.
He did pick it up. He did pick it up.
Exactly. He
was
picked up.
ready at
He picked up the
6:20
phone.
as instructed, and it is now 6:33. So you missed your 10-minute window, but I'm ready with his pick.
Commissioner, before we get to our selections, I'm not sure Hal's pick should count if he's not making it on the phone. On the phone. I think Max will have to hand the pick over to Hal. It must be delivered by Hal Gill.
Gill. Alex, Adam, I will say
Alex?
this only.
Who's Alex?
Adam, I will say this, that you mentioned at the top of the show, one of the first things you said, having been here yourself, is a day off in Montreal is not to be wasted.
Exactly.
And so Hal Gill is only doing what Hal Gill normally does, and that is soak up every moment of his time in this fine city of Montreal.
And for those reasons, I should get a couple of extra bonus points.
0 chance.
Good try. So Max Hurst has been delegated a very important assignment here, and he will have the third pick on behalf of Hal Gill. And Max, I thought, here's one little point of order here. I thought you were thrown off of the committee by Hal. Have you been rehired?
Isn't it an incredible storyline that we're weaving this year on Silly Dog Underpicked?
Silly Dog Underpicked.
That's more embarrassing than Willie calling me Alex.
Alex.
Hey, Alex,
Hey,
it's,
Alex.
it's Silly Dog's underpick.
Alex, that's your new name.
Yes.
Alex.
Okay,
Alex.
so here are the
That's
standings.
better than the other guy.
It is better
Yeah,
than
it
the
is
other
better
guy.
than the other guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
D-Mace has the lead with 32 points. Adam
Oh
is
my
in second
God.
How can
with
he get
18.
32 points?
Alex, it's Alex.
Alex has second.
Alex, I'm not sure who Alex is. Hal has 17 and a half. He's in third. And Chris Sanders, who has the first pick in week 8, still looking
let's
to get
go.
on the board. So let's start the week
Yep.
8 proceedings with the forever
go.
tight Chris Sanders.
Let's go. Make it happen. Dun, 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 dun. Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
That's that win asking you, are you looking for it?
That's a true statement. But here is where I start to get off the snide. I am going with, I'm going with you. I don't even say I'm confident doing it. UAB over Memphis.
Terrible pick.
Terrible.
Chris
Yeah,
hoping
you
for the
wanted
new
it.
coach bump with
Terrible.
Trent Dilfer
Yep,
out at
there it
UAB.
is. That's it.
Terrible.
That's it. Let's
Like
make it
Charles
happen,
Barkley
Captain.
would say, terrible.
Hey, I'll be in second place this week, and then on the weekend after that, I'll be in first.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, Chris.
No,
Okay,
UAB.
Okay, little Johnny, sit over there and be quiet.
Just call me Little Bill, man. I say Little Bill.
Chris
man.
does look like Little Bill. I saw it
All right,
firsthand.
little Bill, sit over there and be quiet.
Come on, Conway Twitty.
The UAB Blazers are a 21.5-point home
Let's
dog
go.
playing against the undefeated Memphis Tigers, who are 6-0 and ranked
Oh, man.
22nd. And as
Yep.
Adam referenced, they have fired their coach, Trent Dilfer, who, of course, spent a lot of time coaching over at Lipscomb Academy here before he got that job.
Yeah.
So he is
might go
done.
back.
And so we'll see. We shall see. That brings us to Derek Mason, the current leader in the
Boo!
competition.
Oh man.
Y'all hear that? All right. I'm going to go here.
Oh boy.
I am going to, because this team has been playing very well as of lately. I am going with the Trojans of USC. They are a 9.5-point dog in this game to Notre Dame. They're playing in South Bend. So I'm going with the Trojans. This is an old school battle right here. USC, Notre Dame.
It is a traditional
the Rocket
rivalry.
Ismail. You can go way back.
Oh, yes. No question about it. USC has slid back up to number 20. They are 5-1. and they are a 9.5-point dog at South Bend against Notre Dame, who, after losing their first two, have rolled off 4 straight wins. Interesting pick, D-Mace. I must say, I am intrigued. That brings us to Hal Gill and the committee, and I guess reinstated after being ousted from the committee, even though he has been in the studio for most of the picks. He's been thrown off the committee, but now rehired, I guess, conveniently, because he was the nearest guy to Hal Gill when dinner reservations hit. Max Hurst on behalf of Hal Gill.
Wow.
On behalf of Hal Gill and the committee, he will be selecting Minnesota against Nebraska. Thank you for your time.
Bye, Max.
Bye, Max. That was an interesting. That was an interesting pick.
Oh my, that's worse than mine.
Not a lot of tidbits as to why the committee selected or how they selected Minnesota.
Oh man!
But the committee is extensive and now has been multiplied again because Max Hurst has rejoined this group. Minnesota is a 7.5-point home dog playing against number 25 Nebraska. Minnesota at 4-2, Nebraska at 5-1, and this one being played up in Minneapolis. That is a Fox game, 8:00 on Friday night. So Hal will know his fate before everybody kicks off on Saturday. All right. That brings us to Adam Vingan for the final pick of week number 8.
Not Alex.
AKA Alex.
I am not Alex.
Other guy.
I am not Alex.
I am not Alex.
His off face, Mom.
By the way, I think, Willie, if Hal's / Max's pick hits, they should only get half of the points because Hal did none of the work.
Why do you try to circumvent the rules, man? Why do you try to make up new rules on the fly?
You should talk about trying to find loopholes, Derek Mason.
But I try to find loopholes in existing rules.
Okay.
I don't try to make up new rules, but
So
you're right.
none of my picks, because I had to prepare for having the last pick, none of my picks were taken. And there were some games I was considering. I was considering, for example, South Carolina over Oklahoma. I was also considering Washington over Michigan.
Thought about that.
But shut up, Chris. Let me get my pick out here. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Ole Miss over Georgia. Georgia is a 7.5-point favorite. I'm riding the lane train, baby. Give me Ole Miss over Georgia.
Man, I'm surprised it's 7. I would have thought it was a little bit lower than that.
Ole Miss, who beat Georgia last year down in Oxford, is a 7.5-point dog on the road this year at Georgia at Sanford Stadium. That is a 2:30 ABC game, number 5 versus number 9. A huge game for Georgia. They need this one. They've already lost one, so they can ill afford to lose another. But Ole Miss coming in undefeated. Interesting picks. So let's review the picks for week 8. Silly underdog competition presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Here's what we've got. Chris Sanders, still looking to get in the win column. The defending champion selects the down and out UAB Blazers. They parted ways with their coach, Trent Dilfer. They are 21.5-point dogs playing it down in Birmingham against undefeated Memphis coming to town.
Let's go.
Derek Mason, picking second, goes with an ancient rivalry that goes back decades and decades in college football. A couple of traditional powerhouses, the USC Trojans, a 9.5-point dog playing on the road at Notre Dame at South Bend. Again, a must-win for the Irish. They've already lost 2. Got to win out if they're going to be in the playoff picture. Meanwhile, Hal Gill, in a controversial move, soaking up the city of Montreal, where he once played for the Montreal Canadiens before he was traded to the Nashville Predators, refused to make the pick because dinner reservations had hit. He handed the phone off to a guy that he fired from his Predator Family Committee.
He
It
sounds like
helps
the
him make the
Titans
picks.
front office.
Yes, it's a very dysfunctional committee, apparently. And Max Hurst had to pick up the slack. He was ousted from the committee 2 weeks ago, reinstated because he happened to be the nearest guy to Hal's phone. He selected the Minnesota Golden Gophers, a 7.5-point home dog, playing in the Big Ten against Nebraska. And then finally, Adam Vingan, currently in second place, looking to make up the 14-point deficit, selects undefeated Ole Miss. The Rebels, a 7.5-point dog as they take on Georgia down at Sanford Stadium Saturday afternoon at 2:30. A pair of top 10 teams in the SEC. Those are our picks for week number 8. Gentlemen, good luck.
Yeah, I hope all y'all do well this weekend. You know,
Especially
with your
Alex.
families. Alex, I hope you do well. Not. I hope y'all lose, period. And Chris, I hope you stub your toe in the process. There you go.
I just did.
Peace
There
out.
you go, fellas.
Peace out, little Bill. Talk to you next week.
Wow. Wow.
Love you, Chris.
I
Later.
love you too, man.
615-737-1025. If you want to represent the people, call right now. You have to call, not text. 615-737-1025. If you represent the people and you are correct, you will win a pair of tickets to see Brian Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. So be the first caller at that number, 615-737-1025. You will represent the people. We will get that pick and wrap up the show next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Alex Vingan, 1025 The Game.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. You know the message because we have been talking about F&M Bank for a few years now as they sponsor our Take It to the Bank segment. But if you're new to our time slot, now that we're on drive time, here's what they're all about. They want to be right smack in the middle of your community. Your business means more to them. They've got 20 locations in our listening area, ranging right in the middle of your hometown in places like Springfield and Mount Juliet and Murfreesboro, to, of course, right in the heart of Nashville on West End Avenue, on up into Kentucky and Hopkinsville and over in Clarksville, 6 locations. F&M Bank wants to take the load off, if you will. Your finances are complicated enough. They want to make it easier for you. They've got a lot of tools to do it, like the Smart Swipe debit card, business-to-business plans, HELOC plans, all of the above. So all you've got to do is find the nearest location to you, myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com. It's F&M Bank. We take it to the bank every Friday.
D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Predators Insiders coming up next with Willie Donick and Alex Vingan. We're going to have to talk about this, Willie. We've known each other too long for you to call me by the wrong name, but we'll get back to that in just a second. Let's go to Randy on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Randy will represent the people this week. Randy, welcome to the competition. Your selection, please.
I'm going with UT over Alabama.
All right. Randy, thank you, and good luck. Willie, what's the line on that game?
I was wondering if anyone was going to pick that.
It was 7 or 9, was it?
I believe the committee, from what I know about the Hal Gill committee, that was nominated. Tennessee is an 8.5-point dog at Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
And we will see what happens when Tennessee plays Alabama.
Are you surprised at that line? You surprised at that line at all?
You said 8.5?
I'm surprised.
Yeah, a little higher than you thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I might have put it at 7.5, maybe even 6.5. But
maybe 6.5. I wouldn't have went over a touchdown. Probably even 5, 5.5.
Well, Randy, good luck to you. If you win, you will be attending Brian Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. All right, we need to unpack this Alex thing. What were you thinking, Willie? Why am I Alex?
You know, Adam, I think what happened was I've called a lot of names out in the last 48 hours. And if you go back about 72 hours, there's 3 hockey games. I got a 4th one I'm preparing for tomorrow. And I think the wires got crossed. I think there's brain fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of people named Alex in Montreal staying at this hotel or what, but I can only plead guilty.
Listen, it's an honest mistake. Adam, Alex. I mean, come on. It's close.
It's okay.
Yeah, your name's not from now on, during Silly Underdogs, your name is Alex.
As a punishment to the commissioner,
Exactly.
we will continue to call Adam Alex.
Alex.
I just want all of you. Look, I am not one to pass up the opportunity to pat myself on the back every now and then. And I just want to say, at 3:00, I said, not sure Hal's going to pick up the phone. Not sure Hal's going to be available in Montreal for Silly Underdog Picks. And lo and behold, his dinner reservation was too important.
He tried to wait.
In fairness, he did answer the phone.
But you know what? Only you heard that. Nobody else did.
If a tree falls in the forest, do you hear it? Did it really fall? Nah, you don't know.
Matthew in Nashville says that if my wife and I have another son, we need to name him Alex. That would be Adam. That would be Adam, Arlo, and Alex.
There we go. The A's. Hey.
Scott in Shelbyville says, sucker bet. Tennessee has no secondary. They lose by 16. I'm a Vols fan.
Oh, man. No wonder.
Ooh.
No wonder.
Anybody, this is another one. You took Arkansas last week, Derek.
Yes.
They're a home dog this week against Texas A&M. Those two teams have played a lot of wild games over the years. I thought about that one.
I didn't because the new coach bump is gone. Now maybe they win this game, but I couldn't trust it. I was looking for the new coach bump the next game, and it didn't happen.
If I hadn't chosen Ole Miss over Georgia,
you would have chose Arkansas.
No, I probably would have gone Washington over Michigan.
I thought about that. I thought about Michigan State over,
but you can't do that.
But I can't do that because I can't watch it in peace. And if I lose, that's a double loss. So I couldn't do that.
Well, we'll see what happens. I need a win. It's been 3 consecutive losses following 3 consecutive wins.
You don't need one.
You know what? I just want to take a moment. We said this at the beginning of the show. And despite the fact that he just called me Alex, I want to commend Willie Donick. Look, if you've had the privilege of covering the NHL and being able to travel to do so, Montreal is a bucket list destination. Predators fans, if you have never seen a game in Montreal, if you can afford it, you should absolutely make a trip, take the opportunity to go to Montreal. And the Predators had the full day off today because they played back-to-back. Willie Donick took 3 hours. It actually took longer because we recorded Preds Insiders, which you will hear coming up next. So for the past 4 hours, Willie Donick has been putting in the work, unlike Hal Gill. So I want to give Willie some flowers before he goes.
Despite the snafu.
Despite him mispronouncing, well, not even mispronouncing, him forgetting your name, Alex.
Yes. Andrew from Dover says, ask Chris Sanders how it feels to have a worse record than the Titans.
Oh, was that a shot at NBA?
No, I think he meant more of silly underdog.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say
NBA
good.
has won more than one.
Yeah, that's
game.
what I was about to say.
What is
I-
NBA's record?
I don't know.
Off the top of
It's
anybody's head.
it's a good record. They've won some.
Yeah,
games.
I don't know what the record is, but I thought he was taking a dig at him. Like, oh wow.
I did the pregame show with Chris Sanders on Sunday, and he told me that somebody said he looked like Little Bill, and now I can't unsee
He
it.
does look like a little bit.
He absolutely does.
Matter of fact,
It's
he's
the
like
funniest
James
thing ever.
Lofton with no hair.
What'd you say?
James Lofton with no hair.
James Lofton.
No.
I like James. James cool dude.
Oh, man.
James cool dude.
Oh, man.
Without hair. So there you go, Chris.
But, Willie, we shall release you to enjoy your evening. If you run into Hal Gill, I give you permission to kick him in the butt.
Hey Willie, how does it feel to be amongst a winning team? All right. At least with a winning record right now.
Well,
Feels good, don't it?
so far so good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a
Feels
marathon.
good.
It's a marathon.
Yeah,
as
I
we
get
know.
it. I get it.
Yes.
Feels
Coach
a lot better
Willie's-
than being 0-5 to start
There you
the
go.
season, which is what happened last year. So,
Can you bring some of
Yeah,
that
hit the
mojo
tape.
back here?
oh, I will try. I will try. Big test tomorrow, though. This Montreal
Yes.
team is a. We'll talk about it more tomorrow, I'm sure. But a fast, young, exciting team. It'll be a good test to see if Nashville can get back in the win column after yesterday's loss. They should have a rested UC Soros ready to go.
That'll do it for us today. Willie and I will bring you Preds Insiders coming up next. We'll be back at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Mitch Light joins us. Elliot Freeman joins us. Be there at 3 o'clock.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear this song. Don't forget about us because we will be back tomorrow.
Do the fist. Do the fist.
Starting at 3 o'clock. I love you. Peace.